Hey there, welcome to another edition of TXN Sports World. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined, as always, by good old MF Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock. Before we start tonight, before we get into our festivities here, I'm going to turn the mic over to Michael Bullock because we're going to dedicate this show tonight to the memory of someone that Michael Bullock knew very well, a famed member of the Special Olympics organization, an avid supporter of the Special Olympics organization, who unfortunately um, passed away this past week. And in talking with him and some other friends of ours, I felt that it was in the best interest that we pay tribute to this extraordinary gentleman. From what I was told about him, especially from our dear friend Brian Keenan, who insisted on this. So Michael Bullock, this past week, the Special Olympics family lost a very extraordinary man by the name of Greg Jones, and I'm going to take this time to turn this over to you so you can fill us all in, because I don't think MF and I ever met the man, so you have way more memories than we do. So
Yeah, so so Greg Jones, he's been a great supporter of Special Olympics Rhode Island, not just as a volunteer, but he was also head of medical when it comes to Special Olympics Rhode Island, and he's done so many things, including going being in that wetsuit and trying to make sure our super plungers and torch run plungers are safe, that they don't go as far as they are supposed to. And he's also, like I said, he's done medical attention to any athlete who was injured. And also back in 2022 at the USA games, he was even the coach for the bocce team. And yeah, he's done everything for Special Olympics Rhode Island. And then of course he was diagnosed with cancer, and then he was diagnosed with lung cancer, and then all of a sudden he was in remission. And the last time I saw him, he was at one of our Super Plunge fundraising events, the Ravenous event over at the Ravenous Brewing Company, and he looked in good spirits. But unfortunately, I mean, it was weeks, months later. Unfortunately, the cancer came back, and it came back really badly. And sadly, unfortunately, he lost his battle with cancer. I mean, he was a retired. Before he was a volunteer, he was a firefighter for the. Let me see if I can find it here. Give me just 1 minute here, guys. I can read the obituary too. Greg Jones. He passed away at the age of 63 years old on Monday at the Hope Health Hulatar Hospice Center in Providence, with his family by his side after a courageous battle with cancer. Born in Providence, he was the son of Ann M. Jones of Cranston and formerly of Cumberland, and the late Arthur T. Jones. Greg resided in Cumberland for the past 28 years, previously residing in North Kingstown and Pawtucket. Greg cherished moments with his loved ones, whether it was gathered by the tranquil pond or cruising on the water. His commitment to service extended deeply. Greg was an esteemed member of Cumberland Professional Firefighters Local 2722 IAFF, the Rhode Island State Association of Firefighters, the International Association of Firefighters, and the Cumberland Public Safety Union Hall, holding leadership roles including past president and board member for the Hall. He also served with distinction as a former member and board member of the former Cumberland Hill Firefighters Association. Beyond his professional endeavors, Greg was an ardent supporter of the Special Olympics Rhode Island, contributing countless hours to events like the annual Penguin Plunge, the Torch Run, plunge, and of course, the state summer games at URI. His volunteerism extended to national events, including several Special Olympics USA games. Greg's career in firefighting spanned a decade with the Cumberland Fire District until his retirement in 2022 due to illness. Prior to this chapter, he dedicated 31 years as an engineer for Verizon, retiring in 2011 with simultaneously serving as a paid on-call firefighter for 21 years with the Cumberland Hill Fire District. In addition to his mother, he is survived by his children, Jennifer Ricard of St. Augustine, Florida, and Jonathan Richmond of Bristol, Rhode Island. His three loving sisters, Carrie Austin, Christine Jones, and Kimberly McPhee, his beloved grandchildren. And he was also the brother of the late Timothy Jones. So, and of course, the wake will be held, of course, on Monday, May 13th at the J.J. Duffy Funeral Home over in Cumberland from 4 to 7. So, yeah. So he was a firefighter, and of course, as I said, a great supporter of Special Olympics Rhode Island. So, and I first met him. I first met him back in 2006 when I competed at the first ever Special Olympics USA Games, and he's become a really good friend, not just to me and my family, but of course all the athletes of Special Olympics Rhode Island. And he said so many times they always put a huge smile on his face, and it's good that we put a huge smile on his face. And of course, his hard work, his dedication has meant so much to us. So yeah, and as I've said so many times, guys, cancer sucks, and especially lung cancer. So on behalf of all of us here at TXN Sports World, we want to send our thoughts and prayers to and condolences to Greg Jones's family, his friends, his loved ones, the Special Olympics Rhode Island community who knew this man who was dedicated to Special Olympics Rhode Island for so many years. So I'm going to do what Anthony Florio always does. To Greg Jones, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. And thank you for Greg Jones. Rest in peace, my friend. So, quick thought, you guys.
It's never easy when you hear about a death, especially when it comes to cancer or anything like that. Even though I never met the man or got to know him, in the last few days, you've been hearing about a lot of testimonials from a lot of Special Olympians, not just Michael Bullock, but if I may, your girlfriend, Mary Ellen, Heather, the Keenans, and Ryan Abedizian as well. And everybody's been saying the same thing, how incredible this gentleman has been, how incredible that he was to do the time that he was doing, to be that medical physician for not just, like you said, not only for Special Olympics Rhode Island, but for the Special Olympics in the US and beyond. And for that, I tip my cap and I commend him. And I am on the behalf of the crew to send my condolences to his family, to the loved ones, to everybody who was affected by this tragedy and this loss. As Michael Bullock is eloquently putting that photo up of him.
That's him right next to me.
It's never easy when you lose somebody like that. When you have somebody who is extraordinary, who does above and beyond the call of duty. And a lot of the times you really question Why? Why did this man have to be taken from us at such a young age? I guess the Lord was ready to bring him home, for him to continue his work beyond the veil. He may no longer be with us on earth, but he'll always be forever in the hearts and the minds of the Special Olympians and to every single person that he has touched in their lives. And for that, we thank you. We salute you. And we wish you nothing but the best. Rest in paradise, my friend. Anthony, I think
Amen.
it's yours, bro.
Yes, and I never, and just like you, MF, I never met Greg Jones either. But from what I was told, mainly by Brian Keenan, because I've talked to him about this more than anybody, and he basically echoed everybody's sentiments, and he said he was that.
And it's not just from the athletes, but you also heard from our president and CEO Ed Pacheco with the things he said about him.
Oh yes, of course. Ed Pacheco, another dear friend of our show and us in general, wonderful guy as well. And I'll tell you what, cancer indeed does suck. I mean, I'm sure that we've lost loved ones to cancer. I've lost some loved ones to cancer, and I'm sure maybe you guys have too. And
I hate to say this, but I've actually lost a couple due to lung cancer.
And another dear friend of ours, Kevin Dexter, he lost his mom to lung cancer.
Yeah. So it's never easy, guys. It doesn't.
Never.
Yeah, and there's sometimes it's like, why did this have to happen to someone to
such a good person?
Yeah. And that's why we say cancer sucks. But at least now he's in a much better place where he's no longer suffering. He's no longer in pain.
That's it.
And
that's the You hit the nail on the head there, Bullock. You hit it. You got it.
And if I know Greg Jones, he would not want us to be sad.
No.
He would want us to remember him the way he would want us to remember him.
That's right. And we are going to dedicate.
That's why at the Summer Games, we're going to find some way to honor the memory of Greg Jones, because he was an avid volunteer for that event, and that was the one thing he always looked forward to. The state Summer Games over at URI.
3 weeks.
Yeah, it's coming up in 3 weeks, and that opening ceremonies. I'm sure that they're not only going to remember him, but from all those that have passed on since the last time everybody gathered at URI.
And I know it'll probably be an emotional moment the minute that flame gets lit, when that cauldron gets lit, because like you said, he was one of the people that was overseeing and helping out with the torch run. And as a matter of fact, I remember one year heading off to work and seeing the actual Special Olympics torch through the city of East Providence one year. It was actually last year, heading to work, and I was stopped at a light, and we actually waited because the torch was running right by me. And believe it or not, it was in East Providence too. It was on Pawtucket Avenue, heading to the high school.
Wow, that's great story.
And like you said, you saw all the posts, not just from me, but from Mary Ellen, from Heather, to Ryan Avedisian, so many people in the Special Olympics Rhode Island community that knew him.
Indeed. And tonight we are dedicating this show to the memory of Greg Jones. And
So Greg, this episode of TXN Sports World is dedicated to you, my friend.
amen. Amen indeed. So
Rest easy, my friend.
yes, thoughts, prayers, condolences to his family, his friends, and all the lives and all the Special Olympic athletes whose lives that he touched with his kindness, his generosity, and everything else that he did. So,
And I think before we move on, gentlemen, I think we should observe a moment of silence in his memory.
I'm good with that.
amen.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
Gloria, let's do it, man. Let's get on with the show.
As tough
All right.
as tough as it is to move on, if I know Greg Jones, he would want us to move on with our lives and do what we would want to do, and that's of course for us to talk about sports.
Amen. And here we go. We're going to start it off with the second round of the NBA playoffs, and we're going to start it off with the series that started the second round of the NBA playoffs. The number 2 seed in the West, your reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champion Denver Nuggets, squaring off against the number 3 seed, the Minnesota Timberwolves. As of right now, we're 2 games into this series, and the Denver Nuggets won both of those games. I should say the Minnesota Timberwolves won both of those games. And they are up 2-0. Game 3 is going on right now at this hour on ESPN. And Denver actually has a halftime lead. So those few days of rest maybe were a difference maker. So we are definitely going to keep an eye on this, no question about it. And we'll cut in with any breaking urgent news that needs to be addressed here, no question about it. So yeah, so Game 3 is right now in Minnesota. First 2 games were in Denver. Game 4 will be Sunday night in Minnesota. Game 5, if it's needed, will be back in Denver on Tuesday night. Game 6 will be in Minnesota on Thursday night. And if a Game 7, winner take all, is needed, it will be on Sunday, May 19th in Denver. The top storyline, this very well could come down to one question. How well and for how long can the Wolves defense cope with the beautiful offensive game played by the Nuggets? Everywhere you look, the Wolves seemingly have an answer for all the important matchups. There's Rudy Gobert, a rim and paint protector for Nikola Jokic, and Mike Conley, the clever veteran for Jamal Murray, and Jaden McDaniels, long and athletic, for Michael Porter Jr. Add Kia 6th Man of the Year winner Naz Reid and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and the Wolves are well equipped to make the Nuggets work on almost every possession. That's why the Wolves made it this far, by forcing teams to take tough shots and bleed the shot clock. Of course, the wonder of the Nuggets is how they've had the same core for 5 years and work like clockwork. Their chemistry, therefore, is unmatched in the NBA. So, excuse me. So maybe the Wolves' D might be at a disadvantage. Keep your eyes on Gobert versus Jokic, a now 3-time Kia NBA MVP and one of the most complete offensive centers of all time, against the 3-time Kia Defensive Player of the Year. Both will likely win those obviously, Jokic won his award, and those are your centers of attention for this series. Jokic gets up for Gobert, though. The Joker went 41, 11, and 7 in their April 10th meeting, dominating not only Gobert, but Reed, the backup. It was one-sided. For the season, Joker averaged 33 points and nearly 12 rebounds against Gobert. Don't need to really get into the comment, so we're just going to move on to the one more thing to watch for each team. For the Nuggets, Porter managed to shake free of personal issues to shine in the first round. One brother was recently sentenced to jail for his role in a fatal car accident, and another was permanently banned from the NBA for gambling. He averaged 22.8 points and shot 48.8% from deep against the Lakers in what was arguably his finest playoff series to date. If Porter keeps this up, Denver will be tough to beat. For the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, only 22, is staking his claim as the best player in these playoffs. He was a wrecking ball against the Phoenix Suns in the first round. 31, 8, and 6 on 51.2% shooting, especially the second half game when he couldn't be stopped. One reason for Edwards' determination, he was doing it against Kevin Durant, an all-time great and his childhood idol. Jokic is also an all-time great. So expect Edwards to make a similar statement as he announces himself as a future all-time great in his own right. The one key number to know is 9.5. The Wolves scored 123.2 points per 100 possessions in their sweep of the Suns. That was the best mark in the first round, and 9.5 points per 100 possessions more than Phoenix allowed in the regular season, with that being the biggest such differential. So the Wolves, who had the best defense by a wide margin in the regular season, have had the best offense in the playoffs, whether you look at raw or relative numbers. The Wolves' effective field goal percentage was a little lower than it was in the regular season, but they ranked. But here's the thing: the effective field goal percentage was 54.8%, regular season 55%. But they ranked second in the first round in free throw rate, 33.3 attempts per 100 shots from the field, and retained 39.2% of available offensive rebounds, the second highest offensive rebounding percentage for any team in any series in the last 10 years. With big differentials in rebounds and turnovers, the Wolves averaged an incredible 10 more shooting opportunities per game than the Suns. The Wolves got to the line a lot, 33 attempts per 100 shots from the field in the regular season series between these two teams. But the Nuggets won the battle of the boards. They obtained 77.5% of available defensive rebounds, the best mark for any Western Conference opponent against Minnesota. If the Wolves don't shoot well, those two factors could determine if their offense can keep up with that of the champions. I know Minnesota won the first two games, but I still have the Denver Nuggets winning this series, and I think it's gonna be in 7. I got Denver in 7. This series should be rich in contrast and drama. Both teams are equipped to move on, and after their sweep of the Suns, the Wolves stamped themselves as a title contender. Will home court be the edge for Denver? More likely, the moments of truth in each game will show us which star, Edwards or Karl Anthony Towns or Jokic or Murray, will make the big shot. I'm going to go with the champs barely in such situations. I know Minnesota won the first two games, but from what I've seen from Denver already here in this third game here, I would not be surprised if Denver wins here. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver takes the next, if Denver, gets this thing back to Denver even. And then we have a best of 3. And then I say Denver wins the series in 7. So I know it's 2-0 Minnesota. I know Minnesota's been the better team so far, but I can't go against Denver right now. I still think Denver's going to find a way to come back and win this thing. So give me the Denver Nuggets in 7 games, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So not much more to say. MF, Minnesota winning the first 2 games in Denver, but tonight, Denver 56-41 at the half, and they're getting ready to start the second half now in Minnesota in game 3. Denver wins in 7. I know you're high on Minnesota.
I'm very high on Minnesota. Yes, absolutely.
But Denver right now, though.
No, absolutely, and you're right. You're absolutely right, Anthony. This is going to be an interesting series. If you really had to put the pressure on me right out of jump, I would have said the same thing. I think going into the series, I would have said Minnesota. I mean Denver all the way. Before the season started, before the series started, I would have gone with Denver to win the series. Now I'm starting to feel Minnesota, and they have not made me go off the path. And that's why I believe that that's exactly what is going to happen. So, yes, I believe that Denver is going to they're going to make a good thing out of it. They're going to make an interesting game out of it. But at the end, I'm with you. I think Minnesota will get the job done. And I got the Minnesota Timberwolves shocking the Denver Nuggets in 6 to win the series to move on to the Western Conference Final. So, Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, this is going to be an intriguing series. Minnesota could be the absolute threat to Denver. With what they can do defensively. Especially with Rudy Gobert, and of course you got Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns. Minnesota's won like the first 2 games, but it's tough for me to go against the defending champs. Especially now when you got the now 3-time NBA Most Valuable Player in the Joker, Nikola Jokic, and you also still got Jamal Murray. You still got Pope, and man, and as the old saying goes, for Minnesota, to be the champs, they gotta beat the champs, and until that happens, I don't know. I just can't go against them. Minnesota is definitely going to give them some fits. They're going to be a threat to them, but I think somehow, some way, I think Denver's going to pull it off. They'll win the series, and I think they'll do it in 7 games, I should say. But you know what? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So Denver wins in 7 games. So Florio, let's move on to the next matchup in the Western Conference semifinals, which features the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks.
Well, we're actually going to talk about another series, Bullock. So,
okay.
Yeah, we're going in by order in which the series started. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to address it, when it comes to the Nuggets and the T-Wolves there, Minnesota won game 1, 106-99, and Minnesota won game 2, 106-80. And Denver currently leads 59-43 in the third quarter. They just started the second half. Games on ESPN.
So if I stand corrected, it's actually the next series that started was actually the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics.
Actually, no. It's the Knicks and the Pacers.
Oh, Knicks and Pacers. So I'm wrong again.
I get your excitement, Bullock. I get it. So don't worry. We're gonna get to those guys in just a little bit. But next up, as we shift our gears to the Eastern Conference, a renewal of one of the greatest playoff rivalries in NBA history. The number 2 seed in the East, the New York Knicks, squaring off against the number 6 seed, the Indiana Pacers. Pacers and Knicks again. How about this, guys? This series is now 3 games in. This series started on Monday night in Madison Square Garden, and the New York Knicks won that game by a score of 121-117 to take a 1-0 series lead. Game 2 on Wednesday night, also in Madison Square Garden, Knicks won a wild one, 130-121. But tonight, the Indiana Pacers, led by a 3-pointer by an unsung hero, Andre Nembhard, who hits a 3-pointer with seconds left to give the Indiana Pacers a 111-106 win against the Knicks tonight to cut the Knicks series lead down to 2-1. Game 4 back in Indiana, Sunday afternoon at 3:30 on ABC. Series will then shift back to Madison Square Garden for a Game 5 on Tuesday night. If a Game 6 is needed, it'll be in Indiana next Friday, May 17th. If a Game 7 is needed, it will be on Sunday night, May the 19th, from the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. So, not much more left to say. MF, we get to renew one of the greatest playoff rivalries in NBA history. These two teams, the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers, gave us some of the most memorable playoff moments in the last quarter century or so. I mean, the wars these teams had, especially 4 series that immediately stand out. The Eastern Conference Finals in 1994. That was won by the Knicks in 7 games. Following year, 95, second round. Indiana wins in 7 games. 1999, conference finals. Knicks winning in 6. 2000, conference finals. The Pacers breaking through and going to the NBA finals for their first and only time to date. So you think of the names in this rivalry. Names like Reggie Miller, Rick Smits, Dale Davis, and Patrick Ewing, and John Starks, and Charles Oakley. And there's no question about it, MF. For this latest incarnation of Knicks and Pacers, you cannot help but conjure up those memories of those incredible playoff series in the late 90s and into the 2000s. Knicks and Pacers one more time. What a
Yeah,
story.
no doubt about it. This is one of the marquee matchups in this series, and it's going to be a good battle. There's really nothing more to say here. The excitement level is definitely high. New York looked really good at the very beginning. New York looked very good, but then some injuries started to creep up on the Knicks, and you kind of felt like more than anything else, tonight was their night. Tonight was definitely their opportunity where they could get themselves back into the series, and they indeed did that. Honestly and truthfully, if New York would have won this game, I don't think Indiana comes back. I think the series would have been over, and the Knicks would have advanced to the next round. Because of the win tonight, I think not only do they win tonight, I think Indiana finally gets game 4. We're probably heading to a 7-game series here. But if you're honestly going to put the pressure to me and say, who do I think is going to win? I got to go with the New York Knicks. I think the Knicks just has what it takes to get to the end. And I just feel like Jalen Brunson, if he keeps playing the way he does, I just don't see him losing that series. So for me, give me the New York Knicks to win this series in 7. And Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, this is a renewal of one of the great rivalries in the Eastern Conference. I mean, like you said, when you think of Knicks Pacers, you think of, like you said, all the greats that have taken part in this rivalry, like Reggie Miller, like Rick Smits, Dale Davis, Jalen Rose, um, um, Chris Mullin. I mean, Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Allen Houston. So many great names. And now you got this latest installment with guys like Jalen Brunson and DiVincenzo, Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam. So you know it's going to be a hard hitting series when you think of Knicks Pacers. I mean, Knicks took the first 2 games at the Garden, but yeah, some injuries have definitely hurt the Knicks. But I'm with MF. If the Knicks had won this game tonight, this series would have been over. But the Pacers, they got the job done tonight. It's now a 2-1 series lead. And now game 4 will be, like you said, Sunday afternoon. And if the Pacers can win this game too, I think we got ourselves a series, boys. But at the end of the day, I still got to go with the New York Knicks to win this series. And I think it's going to go 7 games because I don't think Indiana's going to go quietly. So give me the Knicks in 7. It's yours, Florio.
It took a little longer than either of these teams would have liked, but both the Knicks and the Pacers suffered disappointing Game 5 losses before the Knicks closed out Philadelphia and Indiana closed out Milwaukee, respectively. But they got it done to set up a rematch of the franchise's thrilling second-round series in 2013. Indiana won this season series 2-1 and outscored the Knicks by an average of 123.3 to 115.3. All 3 meetings came before the All-Star break, so it's been a while. The top storyline is the battle of the point guards. Teammates on the Eastern Conference All-Stars team a few months ago, New York's Jalen Brunson and Indiana's Tyrese Halliburton, meet now as opponents with their respective seasons on the line, and a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals on tap for one. Brunson likely will be a top 5 finisher in Kia MVP balloting. Halliburton led the NBA in assists, and both could land on all NBA teams. Each has been his team's driving force, but goes about the job in his own way. Halliburton is a lanky, pass-first playmaker who drove the equivalent of an Indy 500 car, with the Pacers leading the NBA with 123.3 points a game. Brunson is a strong, stocky grinder who elevated his game through injuries to teammates such as Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, and Mitchell Robinson. This season, Brunson averaged almost 36 points against Indiana, shooting 49% and earning 10 trips to the line a game. Halliburton was Indiana's leading scorer versus New York, averaging about 20 while dishing 13 assists. The one who wins this matchup likely carries his team to the next round or another round. Keep your eye on Knicks D versus Pacers O. The Pacers were held below 100 points just once in 82 regular season games. Then Milwaukee, not known anymore for its defense, stopped them on 94 and 92 points twice in the first 4 games of their first round series. Now it's the Knicks' turn. Don't think their coach Tom Thibodeau won't go to school on what the Bucks did with their switching and cross matches. They'll need every trick they can learn because the Pacers scored 30 points or more in 8 of the 12 quarters between the teams. Their shooters drained almost 48% of their three-point attempts and 55% overall. Gumming up Indiana's attack is the key. The Pacers ranked number 2 in the NBA in pace and averaged almost 17 fast break points. Forcing them to play in the half court, get stuck in isolation, and fight the shot clock is a recipe for disrupting their rhythm. The one more thing to watch for each team. For the Knicks, OG Anunoby. A pesky and versatile defender, Anunoby played only 1 game against Indiana, and that was way back in November, when he was still with the Toronto Raptors. He was inactive for all 3 meetings after his trade to New York. Elbow surgery cost him 2 months, but the Knicks were 20-3 with him in the lineup, and for whatever you think of plus-minus ratings, Anunoby was a plus in all 23 appearances. He figures to log minutes against his old Raptors teammate Pascal Siakam. For the Pacers, it's Miles Turner. Turner is the dean of longest tenured Pacers as far as playoff experience. He's at 32 games and counting over 6 postseasons, now getting out of the first round for the first time. He had a clunker in the clincher over Milwaukee, 1 of 6, 5 points, and 4 fouls. But he averaged 22 points and shot 47% from the arc in the first 5 games. He won't be the load that Philadelphia's Joel Embiid was for Isaiah Hartenstein and Robinson to body up. But Turner moves better, is more dangerous with threes, and finishes strong on breaks. The key number to know is 3.07. In beating the Bucks in 6 games in the first round, the Pacers had an assist-turnover ratio of 3.07, highest mark for any team in any series in at least the last 30 years. This came after they recorded the highest regular season assist-turnover ratio, 2.38, in the 47 seasons for which turnovers have been tracked. Among 20 players with at least 25 total assists in the playoffs through Thursday, Pascal Siakam, 25-3, Andrew Nembhard, 28-5, TJ McConnell, 27-6, and Tyrese Halliburton, 56-16, had the highest, second highest, fourth highest, and fifth highest assist turnover ratios. And by taking care of the ball so well, the Pacers averaged 2.4 more shooting opportunities a game than Milwaukee. The Knicks didn't take care of the ball quite as well in their series against Philly, but they took care of it They took care of it better than their opponent and also grabbed 37% of available offensive rebounds. With that, they averaged 6 more shooting opportunities than the Sixers, a jump from their league best differential of +4 a game in the regular season. Shooting is the most important thing in this game, but it also pays to get more shots than your opponent. And this series could come down to turnovers or the lack thereof on one end of the floor versus rebounds on the other end. I got the Knicks winning this series as well, but I think it could be 6, but I would not at all be. I'm leaning 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's 7. New York is more likely to set the pace for this series, which will thwart Indiana's biggest strength, that faster preferred style. Jalen Brunson has been irrepressible, averaging 31 points since the All-Star break, with a usage rating 35.5 that would match Dallas's Luka Doncic's season-long mark. Role players Anunoby, Hartenstein, Josh Hart, and Dante DiVincenzo are gritty complements. And while we don't want to put too much weight on the in-season tournament, the Pacers did shrink with the NBA Cup on the line in Las Vegas. This stage is even bigger. I also have the Knicks winning the series. I got it in 6, but I would not at all be surprised, like I said, if it goes 7. All right, Michael Bullock, here you go. This is your series now. The other series in the Eastern Conference. The number 1 seed, the best team in the NBA, the Boston Celtics, squaring off against the number 4 seed, the Cleveland Cavaliers. This series got underway on this past Tuesday night at TD Garden in Boston, and the Boston Celtics put a whooping on the Cleveland Cavaliers, 120-95. Last night, we had another rout, but it was not the Boston Celtics. It was the Cleveland Cavaliers who defeated the Boston Celtics 118-94 to even the series at 1 game apiece. The series now moves to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland. Game 3 is tomorrow night at 8:30 on ABC. Game 4, also in Cleveland, will be on Monday night on TNT, 7 p.m. We now know there will indeed be a Game 5 back in TD Garden in Boston, and that will be on Wednesday night, 7 p.m. TNT. If there's a Game 6, it'll be in Cleveland next Friday night, May 17th, on ESPN. And if a Game 7 is needed, it will be in TD Garden on Sunday, May 19th. Michael Bullock, it's only fitting we start this series with you. I mean, it's your team, the Boston Celtics, the best team in the NBA, 64-18. And Game 1, we saw why they were the best team. 120-95 beatdown. But then last night, what in the world was that last night? Yikes.
I'll tell you that was it was embarrassing. That's what it was. It was embarrassing. But yeah, Game 1 they did their part, and but Game 2, I mean, my goodness, I mean, they missed so many shots. I mean, they didn't play good defensively. I mean, anything that could have gone wrong for the Celtics, it did go wrong. And yet, and here's the thing that amazes, I mean, the thing that shocks me. I mean, after like only 2 games, there's so many people that are doubting this Celtics team. I mean, it's only 2 games, people. And if I know the coaching staff, they're probably giving the team a pretty good tongue lashing, and probably deserving of it after that performance. Probably saying things like, if you think you're going to have an easy playoff series, well, you just got hit with a cold, hard dose of reality. So you need to, and how does Edge say it, Florio?
I'm sorry, what was that, Bullock? You had a question for me?
How does Edge say it?
Wake up!
And I think they will wake up. And now, as far as how far I see the series going, man, I got the Celtics still winning the series. I think it's going to go 6 games. I don't know why. I mean, I think Cleveland's going to still find a way to extend the series. I mean, to maybe even a Game 6. But I still think at the end of the day, I got the Boston Celtics winning. I mean, they're just too good. I mean, when you got guys like Tatum and Brown and with Drew Holiday and Derek White. So Celtics will win the series, but I got to go 6 games here. So it's yours, Florio.
Oh, man. The Boston Celtics dropped a home game in the first round, but won their other 4 games by an average of 22 points and remain the clear favorite to reach the NBA Finals out of the Eastern Conference. With how good they have been all season, anything less would be a huge disappointment. The next test for the Celtics should be tougher than the first. Boston won the season series against Cleveland 2-1, though all 3 games were within 5 points in the last 5 minutes and were all won by the home team. The Celtics will have the extra home game once again, though they likely will not have Kristaps Porzingis. The top storyline, can Donovan Mitchell get some help? Mitchell is a terrific postseason performer who has now scored at least 30 points in 23 of his 51 career playoff games. with that total of 23 being one shy of Jason Tatum, 24 and 99 for a ninth among active players. But even though Mitchell averaged 29 points, the Cavs scored just a point per possession over their 7 games against the Orlando Magic. Only the New Orleans Pelicans were less efficient in the first round against OKC. The Cavs will now face a defense that ranked one spot higher than that of Orlando. The Celtics have multiple great defenders they can assign to Mitchell, and they can put multiple defenders in front of him on every possession. The spotlight will be on Darius Garland, who suffered a drop-off in production this season and averaged just 15 points in the first round. Keep your eyes on big man attrition. Kristaps Porzingis' absence leaves the Celtics with a starting lineup that was good, but not great. Plus 2.7 points per 100 possessions in the regular season, though it was better in a small sample size in the first round. And with Al Horford in the starting lineup, the Celtics bench is a little thinner. Porzingis might not be the only center missing at the start of this series, as the Cavs' Jared Allen missed the final 3 games of the first round with a rib contusion. Cleveland has also been without Dean Wade, who gave them good minutes at the 4 in the regular season. Over the 3 regular season meetings, the Cavs were outscored by just 1 point, and Allen's 111 minutes on the floor, but were outscored by 14, 25.3 per 100 possessions in his 33 minutes off the floor. The one more thing to watch for each team for Boston, shots near the basket. The Celtics took more jumpers than any other team during regular season, with a league-high 57% of their shots from outside the paint. That rate was a tick higher, 58% in the first round, and they're now without their leading post-up threat. We know the Celtics can beat any team from the perimeter. They outscored their opponents by a league-high almost 11 points a game from three-point range in the regular season, and were a plus 11 from beyond the arc against Miami, despite the Heat's 23 threes in Game 2. But they can't settle and need to turn defensive stops into transition opportunities to put less pressure on their three-point shooting. For Cleveland, it's bench minutes. The Celtics had the top-ranked bench in the regular season, and it's been better in the playoffs. The Cavs bench ranked 15th in the regular season and 11th in the first round, when they were outscored by 14 points per 100 possessions with Georges Niang on the floor. Niang saw his minutes cut over the last 3 games, and Sam Merrill hit a couple of big shots in Cleveland's comeback from 18 points down on Sunday. Returns from Allen and or Wade would certainly help with the depth issues. The one key number to know is 100.7. The Celtics allowed the Heat to score just 100.7 points per 100 possessions in the first round. 2 teams, including Cleveland, scored fewer, but that was the Celtics' best 5-game stretch of defense and the Heat's second worst 5-game stretch off offense this season. Miami was without Jimmy Butler and couldn't make up for his absence in the margins, ranking last in both free throw rate and offensive rebounding percentage in the first round. The Cavs had the league's number 1 defense last season and ranked second on that end of the floor before the All-Star break this year, but they're not the only great defensive team in this series. I got the Boston Celtics winning this series. Initially 5, but I'm starting to lean towards 6 like Bullock. They are missing their starting center and facing a healthier team than their first-round opponent. But the Celtics remain the best team in the league, and with their Game 5 victory over Miami, they're 22-4 without Porzingis. That includes a 10-3 mark against playoff teams, with the Celtics having outscored their opponents by 9 points per 100 possessions over those 13 games. The Cavs are a very good team with a star who can give them a chance on any night. They've played well against Boston this season, but they haven't shown that they can score efficiently enough to keep up with the Celtics over the next couple weeks or so. Celtics win. Initially 5, but I'm starting to lean towards 6 now. But I still got the Boston Celtics winning this series and moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. So, not much more to say. MF, you said it on your Facebook post last night. The over.
I was furious.
Pointers. And
I was furious. I'm not even a Boston Celtics fan, and I went off on social media. And the majority of people came up to me, and they're like, "You're absolutely right, Mike. That was absolutely right. You were spot on. You exposed the Celtics' weakness. You said it, and you were very blunt with your comment." And I had a lot of people agreeing with me. When you go 2 for 11 behind the 3-point line in the second half alone, and only 8 for 36 in game number 2, that is absolutely unacceptable. Like, it just rubbed me such the wrong way about the game. I didn't even watch the whole game, but just looking at the stats, looking at the figures, and I'm like, my God, what were you doing? What were you thinking, Boston? Why were you jacking so many threes up? If you couldn't hit a shot out of a paper bag, what makes you think you were gonna do this? It felt desperate. It felt un-Celtic like, and it really annoyed me to no end. And the one thing I was saying, and a lot of people were agreeing, they're like, "You hit the nail on the head. Move the ball, yo, take it to the hole. You got Jason Tatum. You got Jaylen Brown, two guys who could explode to the bucket. You could handle the load. You don't need to go for the 3-pointer. We was Derek White last night. I mean, why didn't you throw the ball inside? Let him eat. So get it in the paint. Make them. You have to force the Cavaliers to make the mistake. So, because I'm saying this, if Boston repeats what they did last night, Cleveland wins the series. But I do believe the Celtics will bounce back. They'll figure it. They have to. They'll figure it out. I mean, sometimes that was an off night in the office, and a lot of people are doubting them because of the fact that they're doubting the Celtics because of the fact that, like I said, they got too trigger happy with the 3-point shot. It's not like, when you get that happy, that satiable, or you had that kind of an appetite for a 3-point shooting night, that's where you're going to lose the game. Because if that ball has a lid on it and is not going home, you open yourself for the big time disaster. And that's exactly what they did. They literally set themselves up for the failure, the disaster, and at the end of the night, they just couldn't win that game because they got too trigger happy with the 3-point shot. You cannot do that in a situation like this. So really nothing more to say. I do got the Celtics winning the game, and winning the series. I think they'll win it in 6. So nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
And we move on to our final second round series. And we go to the West, and we go back to the Western Conference. The number 1 seed in the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder, squaring off against the number 5 seed Dallas Mavericks. The series started later in the night on Tuesday night at the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City winning game 1, 117-95. Game 2 last night, the Dallas Mavericks even the series at a game apiece with a 119-110 victory. So set the table here. Game 3 in Dallas tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 on ABC. Game 4 will be Monday night in Dallas, 9:30 start time on TNT. Game 5 will be on Wednesday night in Oklahoma City on TNT. If a Game 6 is needed, it will be next Saturday, May 18th in Dallas on ESPN. And if a winner-take-all Game 7 in this series is needed, it will be on Monday night, May 20th in Oklahoma City on TNT. So let's set the table here. It's been a while since we've seen these teams face off in the playoffs. The last time it happened was 2016. Oklahoma City bested Dallas in 5 games. In fact, the Thunder have won the last 2 playoff series between these teams. OKC took the regular season series 3-1, and the Thunder defeated Dallas in 5 of the last 7 meetings between these teams over the last 2 seasons. You'll hear quite a bit about the 2 Kia MVP finalists headlining this matchup. Luka Doncic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander meet in the playoffs for the first time after posting records of 5-5 against one another in the regular season. The top storyline, of course, it's all about the names on the marquee. So expect all eyes to be on Doncic and Gilgeous-Alexander given their MVP pedigrees. As important as they are to their teams, this series will likely come down to how the supporting cast perform. Doncic can lean on veteran guard Kyrie Irving as a lethal co-star, while Gilgeous-Alexander has the luxury of playing off an up-and-coming star in Jalen Williams, It goes deeper as Dallas's trade deadline acquisitions, as well as Derrick Jones Jr. and Derek Lively II, significantly improved the athleticism around Doncic and Irving. The youngest team in NBA history to win a playoff series, the Thunder flex a deep, largely homegrown squad with an elite perimeter defender in Luguentz Dort and a top-notch rim protector and Rookie of the Year finalist Chet Holmgren. Keep your eyes on the Mavericks guards. Doncic and Irving proved to be a handful in the opening round, so OKC is tasked with devising ways to slow them, while also limiting the Dallas Bigs' ability to affect outcomes with the lob game. When Doncic and Irving are consistently successful throwing alley-oops and finding the Bigs near the rack, the Mavs are nearly impossible to stop. It's likely Dort will get first crack at defending Doncic while Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stays on Irving and Williams, checks Jones. Holmgren serves as the ideal security blanket on the back end. Offensively, Holmgren will give Daniel Gafford problems. The one thing to watch for each team. For Dallas received plenty of warranted criticism regarding its defense earlier in the season, but the Mavs improved drastically towards the end of the regular season and into the playoffs. Dallas limited the Clippers to fewer than 95 points in 3 games in the opening round, despite LA scoring fewer than 95 just 3 times in the regular season. Defense has been key. For the Thunder, the Mavs are more formidable than OKC's first-round opponent. So given the relative youth and inexperience of the Thunder, it's worth pondering how well they maintain composure on a bigger stage with higher stakes. Luckily for the Thunder, 2 of their top 4 players, Gilgeous-Alexander and Dort, own 28 games of postseason experience. The key number to know is 93.5. In sweeping the Pelicans in the first round, the Thunder held New Orleans to just 93.5 points per 100 possessions, the lowest mark for any team in a playoff series in the last 8 years. The Pelicans ranked last in field goal percentage in the paint at almost 48%, 15th in effective field goal percentage on shots from outside the paint, 43%, and last in turnover rate, almost 19 per 100 possessions. They were without Zion Williamson for the series, but the Thunder had the league's 4th-ranked defense in the regular season, and they turned it up a notch in the playoffs. The Mavs, with 2 of the best offensive players in the world, present a tougher challenge. Dallas's 146 points on 106 possessions. They in the regular season, they had 138 per 100 on February the 10th, was the second most efficient game any team had against Oklahoma City this season. And that was more about dominance in the paint, 66-34, than fluky 3-point shooting. I got the Oklahoma City Thunder winning this series in 7 games. Brace yourself for plenty of bouts of brilliance from Doncic and Irving. Pressure won't affect them, but the question is whether they'll be able to maintain that standard of play an entire series. That'll be tough against OKC, which finished the regular season ranked 4th in defensive rating. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been a steady performer all season with a supporting cast that fits almost perfectly. The Thunder are deeper and healthier overall. Give me the Thunder to win this series in 7 games. MF, what says you? Oklahoma City and Dallas.
Partial disagreement. I do got Oklahoma City winning the series. I just have them winning it in 6. So, Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I got the Oklahoma City Thunder winning the series, but I got this going 6 games. I mean, I just think Oklahoma City's a better team. I think that Dallas will definitely give them some fits, especially with Luka and Kyrie. But I think at the end of the day, I think Oklahoma City closes it in 6. So with that being said, let's move on, Florio.
And we move on now to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we started off with the series in the Eastern Conference. And it features the best team in the NHL this year, the winners of the President's Trophy, the New York Rangers, squaring off against their heated rivals, the Carolina Hurricanes. This series already 3 games deep. The series started this past Sunday, May 5th, in Madison Square Garden. The New York Rangers won the game by a score of 4-3. Game 2 was Tuesday night in Madison Square Garden. The New York Rangers won that game by a score of 4-3 in double overtime on an overtime goal by Vincent Trocheck against his former team to put the Rangers up 2-0. Series shifted to Raleigh for Game 3 last night. It went to overtime again, but it did not go as long as game 2. A minute and 43 seconds into the first overtime, Artemi Panarin, the bread man, on a nice little bounce that went our way, puts the biscuit in the basket. Rangers win game 3, 3-2 in overtime. We'll have a Ranger roundup. That's going to be our main event tonight because that's the big bullet point. We'll address the Celtics and the Bruins, though. Don't worry about that. But the Rangers will be in the main event tonight, and rightfully so. Rangers win 3-2 in overtime. The New York Rangers up 3-0 on the Carolina Hurricanes. And like I said, we'll elaborate more in the Ranger roundup. Game 4, tomorrow night in Raleigh, 7 p.m. on TNT. If there is a Game 5, it will be back in Madison Square Garden in New York on Monday night, 7 p.m. on ESPN. If there's a Game 6, it will be on Thursday, this upcoming Thursday in Raleigh. And if there is a winner-take-all Game 7, it will be next Saturday night, May 18th in Madison Square Garden. Time and network to be determined. The Rangers up 3-0. MF, I mean, my God. I mean, we're getting those.
Whoever would have thought? I think a lot of people were thinking, honestly, this could probably go maybe 6 or 7.
Easily.
I don't think nobody expected New York to have this big of a lead right out of the gate.
I certainly didn't.
No. And honestly, 5-on-5, Carolina's been the better team on the 5-on-5. But what's done in Carolina, what's given New York that momentum, that opportunity, and what just gives them that look of that they can win this series is the power play. This is the thing, folks. The Carolina Hurricanes has the number 1 rated power play, and I believe they were the number 2 on the penalty kill. So far in this series, the Rangers had not given up no power play goals to Carolina. Carolina is 0 for 15 in the series. The Rangers have 4 power play goals and a shorthanded goal in this series alone. 5 goals on the special teams by the New York Rangers has opened the door for what undoubtedly has been an incredible series for the Rangers. They had taken the biggest strengths of Carolina and exposed them throughout the series. Carolina's been great 5-on-5, and they have. I think 7 goals on the 5-on-5 to New York's 4. They've when it's 5-on-5, they've been the better team. But on power play, on key moments of the game, New York has answered the bell. They answered the bell in the overtime because Igor Shesterkin absolutely he is right now Vezina Trophy winner all over it. He's given up 3 goals or less in 30 straight games. That's unheard of. That's remarkable for what Igor has done. He has been one of the lifebloods, the lifeline for the New York Rangers. And no matter what happens to New York, as bad as the defense has been, sometimes the defense has made some mental lapses. Igor has always answered the bell every freaking time for the New York Rangers. When the going got tough, he was always there. And that's why he is one of those top guys. Alexis Lafreniere has been incredible. So has Artemi Panarin, the bread man. Vincent Trocheck has had a few great moments in the series up to this point. And he's looked in really good. And yes, for for Carolina, for most of the guys, they've been really good. Jake Gansel is one of the biggest bright spots for Carolina. Yes, he was a thorn for the Rangers for a number of years as the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's picked up right where he left off. He's going absolutely bonkers and just giving me and Anthony a headache, making us shake our head like, I'm Maroon, this son of a you know what is at it again with us. I think he's got 4 goals in this series alone against the New York Rangers. I mean, he's one of the biggest bright spots. I think, isn't it Sanansikov? I think is the guy's name. He was a terror last night against the New York Rangers. He was all over the place in the game for Carolina. He was one of the MVPs for Carolina in Game 3. So without a doubt, New York is in the driver's seat. And I even told Anthony, I was like, all right, what are you thinking? How is this going to play out? And I was like, this is probably going to go 5, in my opinion, because Carolina has yet to prove that they can beat New York in Madison Square Garden. I believe Carolina will get this next game. It's over in 5. That's my prediction right now. Could it end in 4? Could we bust out the broomsticks yet again and sweep Carolina, the Caniacs, out of the playoffs? Absolutely. New York is poised for that. You know what? The motto is there's no quit in NY. And let me tell you, this team is resilient. Peter Laviolette, you got your boys geared up. You've done an incredible job with what you've done. And now we got the biggest story of them all. Philip Keto came back last night. Whoever would have thought that was going to happen? This guy missed 72 games in the regular season. He did not even play up until now. And he was a little tentative. I think he was trying to get his legs back under him because remember, this is his first game back since injuring himself all the way back in October. I think it was either October or November. He got hurt against Carolina. I think it was 10 games in. He took a nasty check, and he was lost for the regular season. Everybody was thinking we might have lost him the entire year. And then there was some rumors floating around that there might be a chance we might get him back. And I was like, when? At first they were saying if the Rangers makes it to the Stanley Cup final, we might get Filipino back. And deep down, I was like, I don't know, because that's a long way away, and you don't know how that's going to play out. He's already back. It was Game 3 of the second round, and now we got Filipino back. He's already got thrusted into the second line with Alex Renberg and with Capocacco. I was originally thinking, are they gonna give us the kid line again with what Filipino, Alexei Lafreniere, and Capocacco? When those 3 were together, oh my God, they were amazing. But no, they keep Kakko at the top line with Mika, with Artemi Panarin, and now they got Renberg, Capocacco, and Filipino as the 2 line for the New York Rangers. That's amazing. That's great for us. More depth. The only problem is what happened is that also took out Matt Rempe. Rempe is now on the bench. Rempe was not only on the bench, he was a healthy scratch. He didn't even play last night. He was completely off the table. So we got to figure out a way to get the Rem Dog back. We need Rempe because the physicality and the shenanigans that Carolina was trying to pull on New York last night, and you saw how tempers were flying, especially early in that game. Oh my God, dude. Guys were looking for fights everywhere until the referees were like, okay, wait a minute. No. We got to stop this now. We're going to shut this down. So We'll get into it in a little bit with the Ranger Roundup. But for now, I'm going to say it. Rangers win in 5. I do believe they'll get the job done. The way that they've been playing, I just feel like this is going to be Carolina gets the 4th. New York ends them on Monday night in Game 5. And I believe the Rangers will punch their ticket to the Eastern Conference Final halfway home on the road to the Stanley Cup. So, nothing more to say, Michael Bullock. I give it to you.
Yeah, after what I've seen from them, it's just the Rangers have shown why they are the President's Trophy winners with the best record. And you know what? I think Peter Laviolette's going to have his guys saying, "Hey, let's not give them one game. Let's go for the throat. Let's have them. Let's go for it." So I got the Rangers winning the series, but I think it's going to finish in a sweep. That's just how I feel. So it's yours, Florio.
Yes, indeed. And man, I'll tell you, going into this series, I mean, I had the Rangers winning this series. Yes, I did. I honestly had it going I had it going the distance. I had this thing going 7. But oh, how wrong I am. And this is one time I'm glad to be wrong. But this was the notes that I had going into this series. Did you see how the Rangers manhandled the Washington Capitals in the first round? They barely broke a sweat in sweeping the Caps and set the league on notice. This is not the same Ranger team that faltered badly in round 1 of last year's playoffs against the New Jersey Devils. Under the expert coaching of Peter Laviolette, the New York Rangers dominated Washington and saved themselves a lot of time and energy to punch their ticket to round 2. Star goalie Igor Shesterkin is superior to Hurricanes counterpart Frederik Andersen, and the Rangers can match or improve on any element of Carolina's game. The Blue Shirts were the best regular season team in the league and the best Eastern playoff team in the first round. Carolina has a chance to beat them, but after what we've seen in these last 3 games, not a great chance now. The Hurricanes also steamrolled their first round opponents, the New York Islanders, in round 1, dispatching them in 5 games with relative ease. Carolina's well-balanced, well-coached group has the speed and depth to keep pace with the Rangers in a 6 or 7 game series, like the one this matchup I thought promised to be. A fortunate bounce here or there can be the difference between an Eastern Conference final appearance and a second round exit. Yeah, as evidenced last night, that was as fortunate a bounce as any. Coach Rod Brindamore will have his Hurricanes motivated and prepared to battle the Rangers, and nobody would be surprised. Nobody would have been surprised if Carolina had squeaked by New York in a long and difficult series. Initially, I had it in 7, but now I'm leaning towards 4. I'm leaning towards 4, maybe 5 at the most. The Rangers have it all, but they have that little bit extra, particularly in goal, to be the difference against the Carolina Hurricanes. Igor Shesterkin is a bona fide difference maker between the pipes, and he's the primary reason I expect the Blue Shirts to outlast the Hurricanes and make it back to the Eastern Conference Finals for the 2nd year in a row. Going into this series, I did not think this was going to be a cakewalk for them, but the Rangers have the elite talent at all positions to at least be as good as Carolina. So that's the story. At the least 5, but I would not be surprised if it's 4 tomorrow night. So Rangers win the series. They go to the Eastern Conference Finals for the 2nd time in 3 years. Moving on to the other Eastern Conference series, and Michael Bullock will start this one off. It's his team, the Boston Bruins, squaring off against the Florida Panthers. The series started on Monday night in Florida, and the Boston Bruins, with an impressive win in game number 1, a 5-1 beatdown. We're thinking, okay, Bruins, we see ya. But it was a one-hit wonder. Game 2 on Wednesday night, the Florida Panthers smashed the Boston Bruins by a score of 6-1. The series shifted to Boston for game 3 tonight, and unfortunately, it was more of the same. Another smash job for Florida. Florida smashed Boston by a score of 6-2. And the series continues game 4, Sunday night, 6:30 in Boston on TBS. Game 5 in Florida, Tuesday, 7 p.m. ESPN. If there should be a Game 6, it will be in TD Garden next Friday night, May 17th. If a Game 7 is needed, it will be in Florida on May 19th. Michael Bullock, we started with you. I know you were flying high after Game 1. You're thinking, oh my goodness, we might have a shot at this thing. Look what we did to these guys in Game 1 in their house. But ever since then, it has been all Florida all the time, outscoring you boys 12-3 in the last 2 games. Yikes.
And what's the old saying, Florio? Don't wake a sleeping giant.
Don't poke the bear. And yeah, they're not the Eastern. They're not the defending Eastern Conference champions for nothing, you know.
Yeah, they're proving that title was no fluke, and they've proven it that these last 2 games with the way. I mean, scoring 12 goals the last 2 games. Yeah, they're showing you why they are the defending Eastern Conference champions. So, yeah, Bruins got the first game, but Florida was like, you know what? Enough of this crap. Let's show them why we are the Eastern Conference champs, and that's what they did. So yeah, I got to go with the Florida Panthers to win this series, and I'm afraid it's going to go 5 games because they're starting to show why they are the Eastern Conference champs. So it is yours, Florio.
Yeah. The Panthers made short work of their interstate rivals, the Tampa Bay Lightning, sending them packing in 5 games in round 1. Florida was, by no small measure, the better team of the two, limiting the Bulls to just 8 goals in the Panthers' 4 wins in the first round series. And the Panthers conserved a ton of energy, at least compared to the Bruins, which needed 7 games to narrowly beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round. Florida has the energy and depth to outlast Boston, and the Panthers also have good enough goaltending to match Bruins star netminder Jeremy Swayman. Whatever the Bruins did to the Leafs in round 1, the Panthers will do to Boston in round 2. The only way Boston wins this series is if Jeremy Swayman stands on his head and out steals games from the Panthers. The Bruins offense has been wobbly at best, but Boston beat the Leafs because their defense picked up the slack and limited Toronto to very few second and third chances in high danger spots around the net. If they can thwart Florida's high quality scoring chances, Swayman should be able to give his teammates a chance to win this matchup and take on either the Rangers or the Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals. I got the Florida Panthers winning this series. Right now, I'm leaning towards 5. I believe the Panthers are going to demolish the Bruins with relative ease, as Florida is not going to be dissuaded from imposing its will against Boston. The Panthers are at least as much of a well-coached group as the Bruins are, but Florida's defensive core is better than Boston's, and the Panthers' go-to skaters are better than the Bruins. The rest the Panthers built up by beating Tampa in 5 games should be a big help to them in this series, and I suspect this series will be just as short as Florida's first-round series was. The Panthers are tracking toward a showdown against the New York Rangers, and while that will be a toss-up series, this tilt will go Florida's way and eliminate the Bruins sooner than later. Florida Panthers in 5. MF, Doc, what says you?
Yeah, this was a little bit of I don't want to call it a surprise, but I think we kind of felt like going into this series that this was going to be an interesting battle. But when Boston just felt like they dominated that first game, we all were kind of like, whoa, what is going on? You know, was this going to be different? And then all of a sudden, the series just altered a little bit. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. I kind of feel like going into this kind of had a sentiment or a feeling that Florida probably is going to win this series, but I'm going to go 6. I still feel like Boston can definitely make a series out of this, but Florida 6 games. Florio, back to you.
All right, and we move on to the Western Conference second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we renew another great. We saw it in the NBA with Indiana and New York. Well, how about we do the same thing? How about we do the same thing for the second round in the Western Conference? as we renew one of the great rivalries in the late 90s and into the 2000s, as it was the series between the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. And just bear with me for a minute here. Okay. Just give me one moment here. Oops, that's not right. Okay. But we are going to talk about the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. These two teams met in the late 1990s, and they had a couple of series in the 90s, and they were very good. They were very entertaining series, to say the very least. I think it was like 99 and 2000. I believe they met in the conference finals. So let's set it up here. This series is 2 games deep, and the series started. It started on Tuesday. Yeah, it started Tuesday night in Dallas, and the Colorado Avalanche won the game 4-3 in overtime. And then game 2 last night in Dallas. Dallas evened the series at 1 game apiece with a 5-3 win. Game 3, series now shifts to Denver. Game 3 is tomorrow night at 10 p.m. on TNT. It'll be following the Ranger game tomorrow. Ranger Hurricane game 4. And then game 4 will be on Monday night in Denver on ESPN. Game 5 will be on Wednesday in Dallas. Game 6 will be next Friday in Denver if needed. If a winner-take-all Game 7 is needed, it will be on Sunday night, May 19th. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive on into this to what I believe is going to be an incredible series between 2 great teams. And right now, if I'm going to be honest with you, I see this thing going. I see this thing going the distance very easily, just like their previous series did. Okay. Dallas narrowly avoided elimination this past Sunday by beating the very solid Vegas Golden Knights in Game 7 of their first round showdown. The Stars showed great resilience in coming back to life against the defending Stanley Cup champs. It's more than a little encouraging that 3 of their best players in the first round, forwards Wyatt Johnston and Jason Robertson, and defenseman Miro Heiskanen, are 24 years old or younger. And goalie Jake Ottinger's first round individual numbers, including a .925 save percentage and .195 goals against average, are stellar. The Avalanche very much impressed me in the first round. I anticipate this series goes to full 7, but in for a penny, in for a pound, I got to go with Dallas. I'm sticking with them. I think Dallas wins this series. But for Colorado, the Avs were a steamroller against Winnipeg in the first round, smashing and stacking the Winnipeg Jets in 5. If momentum is a real thing, the Avalanche are likely to win 3 of their next 6 games, regardless of who their opponent is. It's that deciding 7th game that will be the destiny of the Avalanche and the Stars. And I apologize. I just had another little thing here, another technical snafu here. All right. It's that deciding 7th game that will be the destiny of the Avalanche and the Stars this season. Anything can and usually does happen in Game 7, and it wouldn't be shocking to see the Avalanche emerge as the victors here. However, Dallas's offensive production against Vegas was less than impressive in round 1, as the Stars averaged just 2.29 goals per game, fifth worst among all playoff teams. But somehow they managed to make it past the Golden Knights, and I foresee a similar fate for the Stars this time around. It will be a 7-game series one way or another, and I think a lot of Dallas's key players, I think a lot of their key players. So I'm going I'm predicting the Stars will outlast Colorado and move to the Western Conference Final. And that's my story. So I'm going with the Dallas Stars to win this series, 7 games. But I would not at all be surprised if Colorado were to steal it. This really can go either way. It's almost like a coin flip, but 7 games, Dallas wins. MF, what says you?
This actually feels like what New York and Carolina should have been, to be all honesty. This is going to be a dogfight. This is going to be a battle, an absolute war of attrition. And I'm with you. Dallas wins in 7. Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it unanimous as well. I got Dallas winning the series as well, and I also see it going 7 games. So that being said, Florio, let's move on.
And we move on to the final second round series in the Western Conference. MF will start it off. The Edmonton Oilers squaring off against the Vancouver Canucks. Currently at this hour, we're playing game 2. The Canucks are up 3-2 after 2 periods. Game 1, it started on Wednesday night, game 1 at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. Vancouver won the game 5-4. Vancouver up a game to none. They're up 3-2 after 2 in game 2. Game 3 will be Sunday night in Edmonton, 9:30 on TBS. Game 4 will be in Edmonton on Tuesday, 9:30 ESPN. Thursday night will be game 5 in Vancouver, if needed. Game 6 will be on Saturday, May 18th in Edmonton. And if a winner-take-all game 7 is necessary, it will be on Monday night, May 20th in Vancouver. So with that being said, MF, I got to tell you, this is one of the most stacked second rounds I have ever seen. Every matchup intriguing in their very own way. With the Rangers in Carolina, Florida and Boston, Colorado and Dallas, and now Edmonton and Vancouver. Very intriguing to say the very least. So MF, Edmonton, Vancouver, who you got?
Yeah, this one's gonna be tough because going into this, I was feeling Vancouver, and I kind of still feel it. This is gonna be interesting. This is not gonna be an easy series to call. I don't think there's gonna be much for us to talk about here. I think this is gonna be a dogfight, a battle, a whatever you want to call it, and this could go either way, but I kind of feel like this is. I want to go with the Vancouver Canucks. So my prediction is the Vancouver Canucks winning the series, and I do believe it's going to go 7. Something tells me this is going the distance. So, Michael Bullock, it is yours.
What series are we talking about?
Vancouver, Edmonton.
Edmonton and Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm going Vancouver to win this in 7 games. So it's yours, Florio.
Vancouver got a great defensive test in the Nashville Predators in round 1, but ultimately the Canucks were deeper, faster, and more determined than the Preds. Vancouver's offense is going to need to ratchet up a notch or 2 to keep pace with the high-energy Oilers. Canucks goalie Artur Solovs will have to match the effort of Edmonton counterpart Stuart Skinner, but I like Vancouver's defense, a strength for them against Nashville, to clamp down on Oilers stars and keep the scoring on both sides to a minimum. It's hard to imagine the Canucks winning a high-scoring affair, but Vancouver has to discipline to check Edmonton hard, not get heavily penalized, and pull out a series win by the narrowest of margins. The Oilers grabbed the LA Kings by the ankles, turned them upside down, and shook them until all their money fell out in round 1. It would be hard to envision a team getting any more confident after the first round than Edmonton is right now. They have the best player in the world, another world-class talent behind them, and a well-balanced group of forwards. That was more than enough to beat the Kings. Skinner also gives his teammates more than enough landing strip to land this plane. Vancouver is an excellent team, but so are the Oilers, and this series is also likely to go the full 7 games. The Canucks and Oilers are very good teams, and one of them is about to go home for the year. Edmonton has the best player in this series in Connor McDavid, but Vancouver has the best defenseman in Quinn Hughes. I also like the Canucks secondary scorers more than I like the Oilers group. It will be a tooth-and-nail battle, but Vancouver should be the team moving on to the 3rd round. Vancouver has been great for most of the season, and I don't see that changing now. I also had the Vancouver Canucks winning this series 7 games. So with that, we're going to move on. And now we're going to get into our respective shows now, our respective team shows now. And Michael Bullock, I know these next couple are going to be very hard for you, but it is what it is. So let's get into the Game 2 edition of the Celtics chat. Game 2 last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics from TD Garden in Boston. And it was the Cleveland Cavaliers. Unbelievable performance from what we saw last night. A 118-94 beatdown by the Cleveland Cavaliers in game number 2. And I'm just gonna go right into the effort here, into the box score here. Donovan Mitchell leading the way for Cleveland, 29 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds. Mobley, 21 points, 10 rebounds, had a double-double. Garland, 14 points, 7 rebounds. Strus with 12 points and 6 rebounds. LeVert with 21 off the bench and 6 rebounds and 3 assists. For the Boston Celtics, it was Jason Tatum leading the way with 25. He had 7 rebounds and 6 assists. Jaylen Brown had 19. Al Horford had 10. Al Horford had 11. Derek White had 10. Pritchard, 13 off the bench. And those were the notable numbers. Team numbers. The Cavs shot almost 55% from the field. Boston, 41% from the field. This was the big discrepancy. 3-point shooting. Cleveland was 13 of 28, 46.4%. Boston, 8 of 35, 23%. Free throw percentage, that was Boston, 20 of 24, 83%. Cleveland, 11 of 16 for about 69%. Rebounding, offensive rebounds, 7-6 for Cleveland, 37-25. Defensive for Cleveland, 44-31 for Cleveland overall. Cleveland had 24 assists, Boston 22. Boston 5 steals, Cleveland 4. Both teams had 3 blocks apiece. Cleveland committed 12 turnovers. Boston committed only 7. And points off the turnovers, 14-10 in favor of Cleveland. 14-8 fast break points for Cleveland. Here's another big discrepancy. 60-44 points in the paint for Cleveland. 15 fouls for the Boston Celtics, including a flagrant foul. Cleveland committed 20 fouls. At one point, Boston did have a 9-point lead, and that was their largest lead. Boston's largest lead was 9, but Cleveland's largest lead, 29. 118-94, Cleveland wins. Game 3 tomorrow night in Cleveland, 8:30 on ABC. Michael Bullock, yikes, what went wrong for the Celtics in Game 2 after that incredible Game 1?
Well, it's like I said. I mean, anything that could have gone wrong for the Celtics did go wrong. I mean, the shooting just wasn't there. I mean, the defense just wasn't there, and Cleveland, whatever they wanted, they got. And yeah, things have got to change. I mean, don't completely abandon the 3-point shooting, but also I think you got to go more inside the paint. I think guys like Tatum and Brown, they need to attack. And well, it's not just them, it's everybody. I mean, and make it very tough for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I pretty much said what I said earlier when we previewed the series, so I'm not going to get much more into it. But yeah, I think this team will definitely bounce back. I think they can win Game 3 because, look, Cleveland got one here. Now it's our turn to get one over at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. So nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
MF, quick word, or did you pretty much say your piece during our series preview?
I think I pretty much said my piece in the series preview. I don't really want to rehash that again.
Fair enough. So with that, MF, I'm going to turn the mic over to you now because you are the voice of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And, well, we go from a disappointing Celtics chat to an even just as disappointing, if not more disappointing, Bruins beat now. Oof.
Yeah, I mean, not much for us to talk about on this one, y'all. Um, Unfortunately, the pain does suffer. Second straight game, the Boston Bruins takes it on the chin in the Eastern Conference semifinal in game number 3, as now Florida has taken full control of the second round matchup against the Boston Bruins, as the scene shifts now to the TD Garden in Boston. And unfortunately for Bruins fans, it does not go according to plan, as it was indeed that the Florida Panthers winning the game by the final score of 6-2. It started somewhat early, almost halfway through the first period. Evan Rodriguez getting the goal, scoring it at 8:04. Florentin getting the assist, and that was 1-0 Florida. Then it started to really explode. Power play goal, Vladimir Tarasenko, Sam Bennett, and Oliver Ekman Larson getting the assist at 16-14, gave it a 2-0 lead. Then 1 minute later, another power play goal. Harder for Hagee getting the goal. Barkov and Kachuk getting the assist. 3-0 Florida. Then it gets even worse for Florida, as Brandon Montour, he scores. Power play goal starting the third, 3:09. And it was 4-0 Florida. You're thinking, oh my God, game over, right? Well, Boston tries to make a comeback. Jacob Lacko getting a goal at 5:01. DeBrusque and Beecher getting the assist. And then almost 3.5 minutes later, Jacob DeBrusque getting the goal. Laurie and Pasternak with the assist. It's 4-2 now. You're thinking, oh, wait a minute. Does Boston have a shot here? Can they make a comeback out of it? No, basically, it was game over at that point. Sam Reinhart getting an empty netter at 18:36. That was 5-2. Then Evan Rodriguez on the power play, 6-2. The final goal at 19:09. It was game over at that point. Florida wins it by the final score of 6-2. The shots on goal was 33-17. 33-17 for the Florida Panthers. On top of that as well, not only that, but face-off, they were winning it. The biggest difference in the game, the power play. Boston was 0-2. Florida 4-for-6. Wow. Unbelievable performance, unbelievable domination. Yeah, there's really nothing more to add on this one. Just to give you a quick thought, the 3 stars of the game was actually Jacob DeBrusque of the Boston Bruins was the number 3 star. Evan Rodriguez was the number 2 star, and Alexander Barkov was the number 1 star in the game. Michael Bullock, 2 games, game 1, like Anthony said, was a great start. And then the last game was a bad performance. It was the last game was a 6-1 bad performance, and now they parlay that into a 6-2 beatdown at TD Garden. Now Boston's backs are literally up against the wall. They must win the next game, or else you really put yourself in a really tough spot.
Yeah, they gotta win this next game, because if they do, it's going to be a tall task for them to try to come back against a team like Florida, who are the defending Eastern Conference champs. I mean, Yeah, I mean, game one, they just got off to such a good start. The Bruins. I mean, it was a statement win, and then yeah, the Florida Panthers ramped it up. I mean, 6 goals the last game, six here tonight. I mean, 12 goals in the last 2 games, and yeah, that's not good. I mean, the Bruins, they need to be more aggressive. They need to get off to a fast start if they want to have any chance of evening up the series. So disappointing. So yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say. So it's yours.
Anthony Flair, do you want to give a quick thought on Game 3 here tonight?
Yes, absolutely. Alexander Barkov was far and away the best player on the ice for the Florida Panthers tonight. There is absolutely no doubt about that. With the 2 assists, he also had 7 hits. He also had a takeaway, and he also had 10 faceoff wins. Sam Bennett was right behind him. He had 7 hits of his own and an assist. Lusterinen, with an assist, had 3 hits. Lundell also had 10 faceoff wins. Reinhardt with a goal, 4 hits, 4 faceoff wins. Reinhardt, another one of the stars of the night. Evan Rodriguez, I liked what I saw from him. He had 2 goals, and he also had a hit, had 2 faceoff wins. Stenlund, 3 hits, also had 5 faceoff wins. Carter Verhaeghe, I can't say enough about this kid. I love this kid for Florida. A goal, had a couple of faceoff wins on his end, and of course, Ekblad with 3 hits, and Ekman Larson with a couple of assists and a couple of hits, and Bobrovsky had a relatively easy night, only 15 saves on 17 shots, so he didn't have to stand on his quite as much as Igor has had to in the last couple of games for the Rangers, but we'll get to that in a second. There were some bright spots for the Boston Bruins, though. Charlie Coyle, I thought, was the best player on the ice for Boston tonight. 6 hits, had 8 faceoff wins. Geeky, 10 faceoff wins, had 3 hits of his own. DeBrusk, goal and an assist, 6 hits. DeBrusk had a solid game. Beecher, 7 faceoff wins, 2 hits. Frederick, 5 hits, had a takeaway, 2 faceoff wins. Pavel Zacha with 2 hits and 3 faceoff wins. McAvoy, 5 hits on the night. I liked his body of work. Jeremy Swayman did not look as good as he did in the Toronto series, but bottom line is this, gentlemen, and especially you, Michael Bullock. Sunday evening, Game 4, definite must win for the Boston Bruins. They must win. They do not want to go back to Florida down 3-1. If they go back to Florida down 3-1, it's over. It's all, in one of the words of Mike Goldberg, it is all over. So Boston must win Game 4 if they want to have any chance of winning this series. So not much more for me to add on to it. So on behalf of Michael Bullock and all Bruins fans out there, wake up. That's all there is to say on that. So with that being said, we got one last order of business tonight. I'm going to turn it back over to good old MF Michael Fletcher. And MF, I can't think of a better way to main event this show tonight than with the Ranger Roundup and the hottest team in these Stanley Cup playoffs right now, your New York Rangers, our New York Rangers, baby.
Absolutely. What a game it was last night. Another epic between the Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. It went to the barn of Carolina. The Caniacs were ready. They wanted it. They had to win this one. This was a must win for them. And it looked like everything was going good for them. There was a switch in goalie. They actually benched their original goalie, went into the backup, went to the reserve, and it looked like they did get the jolt early on, dominating the first period. Jake Gansel started the party with the goal at 10:14, kind of a little bit of a busted play. Dmitry Orlov is Sergachev getting the goal, giving them the 1-0 lead in the game, and then got even better for Carolina in the second period. The Rangers made a penalty, bonehead mistake. So you're thinking, oh, this is great. Carolina gets an opportunity. Maybe they double up the lead. Maybe they get a they could really break the game open, a mistake was made. Mika Zibanejad stole the puck, started going up ice, bringing it up. A sweet pass to Kreider. Kreider buries it in the back of the net. Short-handed goal at 8:30. Tie game. 1-1 going to the third. Then it was then in the third, 6:25 into the third, and the Rangers take the lead. Alexis Lafreniere getting the goal on Terry Panarin and Vincent Trocheck with the assist, and they were up 2-1. Then Carolina basically like, you know what? Fine, enough. We gotta desperate time, call for desperate measures, pulled the goalie, 6 skaters out, and it worked. Andrei Sergachev getting the goal at 18:24. Sebastian Aho and Brady Shea getting the assist. 2-2 going into overtime. And we're thinking, oh my God, here we go again. Another overtime period. How long is this going to take? It only took 1:43. Alexis Lafreniere throws the pass. Vincent Trocheck at the corner just fires it right on net. On Terry Panarin, Johnny on the spot, puts it in the back of the net, right through the 5-hole. Game over. Rangers win 3-2. Backbreaker for the series. The long faces of Carolina said it all. Hell, even Blake Wheeler, who's been injured, was at the gate right where the Rangers were comes out on the road side of the entranceway to greet the boys in street clothes, banging on the glass as the guys are losing their minds after the Panarin goal. If you heard 2 crazy Ranger nuts freaking out in East Providence, it was me and Florio. We were losing our minds as well. Rangers win 3-2 in overtime. Again, domination in the game because of the fact that Carolina outshot New York 47-25. They dominated the faceoff circle, winning over 61% of the faceoff. But again, the power play was non-existent for Carolina. 0 for 5 in the power play. They are now 0 for 17 in the series. They have not scored 1 power play goal. And the Rangers, this is what's giving them that opportunity. This is why New York has been winning the series, because power plays, short-handed goals, when they get either a man up or a man down, they don't panic. There's no panic in them. They just keep playing their game, and they make them pay any way they can. 3 stars of the game in this unbelievable matchup. Sergachev was the number 3 star. On Terry Panarin, the game winner, gets the number 2. The number 1, Igor. That's all you can say. 45 saves on 47 shots. Igor Shestankin right now, consummate guy right now for the New York Rangers. He has been the focal point of this team. 30 straight games, only given up 3 goals or less in every single game up to this point. It's one of the greatest streaks as a goalie in NHL history. Anthony Florio, my God. Yeah, we were saying, and I kind of said it to you privately. I was like, I would love to get game 3, but I said we needed to get a split. Either get game 3 or game 4, but I personally wanted this game. Because I just wanted to rip the hearts out of Carolina. Just end it. Just whatever you can do Take this game away from Carolina. Let them think in their heads, we are dead. And that's exactly what they did. Did you see the long faces and the heartbreak and
Yeah.
everything that happened last night?
Oh,
Oh my God. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry for being an a-hole here, but I was salivating. I had zero sympathy for the Caniac out there. I got no respect or no love when it comes to this part of the season. So for me, sorry, tough luck. Sorry about your damn luck, is what I say.
ah, hey, great reference, Cowboy James Storm. Absolutely. That's ever since he said that, it stuck with you, and that was perfect for you. But yes, indeed. What else is there to say about the New York Rangers? I mean, 7-0 to start the playoffs. They did this in 1994. And what did they do in 1994? They won the Stanley Cup. MF, I think you remember this word. We used to watch. We had a guilty pleasure many years ago. That guilty pleasure was a show called Passions, and MF and I, whenever we had the chance, we called each other up and we watched the show almost regularly. It was appointment TV for us. There was a character on that show named Teresa Lopez Fitzgerald, and she always threw a 4-letter word that began with the letter F. And as she pursued the love of her life, Ethan. That word, MF, I think you remember it.
Faith?
You got it.
Mm.
How are you feeling that? I'm starting to feel it. I mean, it could be just that. And 30 years. I mean,
The start, definitely agree with that. I think it definitely could, it definitely does. Oh, it definitely is there, no doubt.
you remember when we watched Passions, Teresa always threw that word out. She always threw out the word fate, fate, fate. That's what she threw. She always threw it out. We remembered it. It stuck with us, even before we lost the series to DirecTV. But still, I mean, it could just as well be that. And the longest streak, I believe, is 9, and that was by the 1985 Edmonton Oilers, and they won the Stanley Cup. So, but then again, they had that super team of Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Paul Coffey, Yari Curry, and all those legends. And you know the story there. This Ranger team, I going into this series, I'm not surprised that all 3 games have gone down to the wire. I'm not surprised the last 2 have gone to overtime. If you were to tell me that the New York Rangers were going to be up 3-0 after 3 games in this series, I would have said no way. I was expecting either us to be up 2-1 or maybe even them to be up 2-1. But for us to be up 3-0 with a chance to possibly finish this thing off tomorrow night, I would have said no freaking way. You're out of your mind. This is going to be a bloodbath. They're going to beat the holy hell out of each other. But here we are. It's Andrei Svechnikov, MF. That's who you're thinking of for Carolina. He was the number 3 star. Artemi Panarin with that fortunate bounce that went our way for the win. Igor Shesterkin, MF. I don't know if you noticed this. In the last 2 games, 99 saves in his last 2 games. 54 in game 2, 45 in game 3. And without question, he is definitely a front runner for Conn Smythe, as well as Vincent Trocheck. And who had the big moment last night? Who was the one who ultimately set up the winner? Vincent Trocheck. I cannot say enough how much I love Vincent Trocheck. And he, in my personal opinion, is the Conn Smythe front runner, although Igor is right behind. They are the 2 front runners. They're the co-front runners right now. But and Philip Hedl, man, to have him back earlier than expected. You told me he was on his way back, and I didn't think it was going to be this soon. And it is so damn great to see him back in the lineup. Once again, who was my best player on the ice last night for the New York Rangers? Of course, it was number 16. It was Vincent Trocheck. 11 face-off wins, 4 hits, 2 assists, a takeaway. Mika Zibanejad, 3 takeaways, 5 face-off wins. He had an assist. Here's a name I never thought I was going to call. Wenberg. Wenberg had 7 face-off wins last night. Barclay Goodrow with a couple of face-off wins. Gustafsson with 3 hits and a takeaway. Trouba with 3 hits. And the best part is he stayed out of the penalty box. No boneheaded penalties from the captain. Thank goodness. I'd like to see more of that out of him. Igor, of course, 45 saves, 47 shots, 99 over the last 2. Just absolutely impressive. For the Carolina Hurricanes, once again, well, actually, no. My star from last night was actually Jordan Staal. 13 face-off wins and 5 hits. Sebastian Aho right behind with 12 face-off wins, had an assist. Drury, 8 face-off wins. Let me see what else we have. Svechnikov, goal and an assist, had 5 hits and a takeaway. Slavin, 3 hits and a takeaway. And it's Kochetkov, who was in goal for Freddie Anderson. 22 saves, 25 shots, not bad, but still, he gave up that unfortunate bounce for them. And here we are, the New York Rangers, with a 3-2 overtime win, up 3-0, a chance to finish it off as early as tomorrow night in Raleigh. I never would have believed it if that's the case. And you said you preferred Game 3, MF, and we had our little messenger chat, and you said it. We control it. I mean, how do we want to do it? Do we want to do it do we want to finish them off in Game 4 tomorrow? Let them get one, and then possibly, if we have to go back to the Garden and finish them off in Game 5, either would be fine with me. But if I'm going to be honest with you, I prefer to just get it done and over with. I want to see them just get it done, just finish it off tomorrow night, and then hope and pray that somehow, some way, the Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins beat the ever-loving hell out of each other. And then the longer they do that, the more rest we get, and the better our chances are of not only going to the Eastern Conference Finals, but also possibly maybe hoisting the Prince of Wales trophy for the first time in 10 years. That would be something. So I cannot tell you enough how much I love this team. And this is the proudest I've been to be a Ranger fan in a long time. And if they keep playing the way that they are, we have a legitimate shot at a winner here. This could be the moment. This could be the moment where MF gets his 2nd cup overall, and I would have my Ray Bork moment. And I would have, and this would be my first legitimate cup. Now I'm going to be honest with you, friends. For a brief time, during the down year, the Rangers did have down years, in the late 90s and throughout the 2000s almost. MF and I took a liking to the Detroit Red Wings. We'll be honest with you. We kind of jumped on the Red Wings bandwagon for a little bit, for a few years. And we had fun watching them. They won. We saw them win their Stanley Cups in '97.
They won three during that Ranger downtime. Yes, 97, 98, and then 2002. Obviously, our senior year in high school.
2002 MF was the most special. I mean, all 3 were special in their own way, but 2002 was for me the most special.
The greatest one of them all. Yes,
because it was on our senior prom night.
Yes.
They won it on our senior prom night. Does it get any better than that? Do you think I've forgotten about that 22 years later? No. I never have, and I never will. I'm going to take that with me. So yes, MF and I mean, those were the thrills that MF and I, we were happy for those Red Wing teams. They were so fun to watch, 97, 98, and 02. And then finally, when the Rangers started getting good again, after the lockout in 2006, when they finally got going again and they started making playoff runs, I'm like, okay, we're back. So, but 2014, they got to the finals. We were so excited. We were thinking, oh my goodness, we might have a legitimate shot at this thing. Yeah, no, that unfortunately it didn't pan out that way, unfortunately, but here we are, man, 10 years later, and this team is the real deal. And they won the President's Trophy, franchise record in wins and points, 7-0 to start these playoffs, a chance to finish off the Hurricanes tomorrow. And I mean, the advantage is totally ours. And the quicker we get it done, the better. And then we just hope and pray that somehow Boston makes a series out of it against Florida. They beat the hell out of each other. And then hopefully we can pick the bones after that, win the Eastern Conference, win the Prince of Wales Trophy, and then get another shot at that 35 pounds of sterling silver. And God forbid, man, if they do this thing, you thought it was emotional when Ray Bork had his moment. I'm going to be even more emotional. You had that thrill 30 years ago, MF. You tasted it. You know what it's like. I've never had that legitimate thrill, even though we piggybacked off the Red Wings those few times. But this would be legitimate, and this would be the most special of them all. Peter Laviolette's done it before, and damn it to hell, I believe he can do it again. He did it with the P. Bruins in 99 with the Calder Cup. He did it with the Hurricanes in 06 with the Stanley Cup. He took the Flyers to the finals in 2010, took the Predators to the finals in 17, and 7-year gaps, 10 to 17, 17, 24, 7. And they're 7-0. What else is there to say? Let the chips fall where they may. MF, we're in control. And either 4 or 5 would be fine with me. But if I'm to be honest with you, I'm hoping they slam it tomorrow. That's my personal preference. But we'll see what happens. But so with that will put the ball on this edition of TXN Sports World. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. MF, tomorrow night, what do we got going on? Of course, no show Sunday because we got Mother's Day coming up. So tomorrow night, what do we got?
Yeah, so tomorrow night we're actually going to get into yet another big. It is the Cerebral Smack Talk, SmackDown Live, and if for some reason if we can get it, we might do another Ranger Roundup. We might do the Game 4 of that series, and we'll see if New York does indeed slam the door. So we'll see. We'll see it. So there's really nothing more to say. Anthony will start at 10:30. So it's yours.
10:30 tomorrow night. Of course, no show on Sunday whatsoever because Sunday is Mother's Day, of course. So you know what that's about. And Monday night we do it again, ridiculously raw. Monday Night Raw. As we continue on the road to the King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia, and the King and Queen of the Ring continues. Becky Lynch will be in action. And then the return of my Tony's Take, as we will be Impact Wrestling and NXT Level Up. Maybe a Celtic chat, maybe a Bruins beat. We'll see if Bullock is on, and we'll maybe another Ranger Roundup. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Now, MF, we have a bit of a conundrum here. Next Wednesday, the NFL schedule is released. So how are we going to play off that? That's a great question. So we're going to put our heads together and we'll figure that out. Because Wednesday, of course, that's Wednesday Night Madness with AEW, Dynamite, and NXT, and some other things if we have to. And but rest assured, there will be an NFL schedule release show sometime next week. So we'll figure that out. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that will put the bow on this. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk with MF, I'm BraceFan95. This is Anthony Florio here for good old MF, Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, of course, Michael Bullock. And as always, the First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Roll it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Saturday. And until tomorrow night, for the Cerebral Smack Talk you've been watching, TXN Sports World, right here on the Tone 25, on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody. Bye.